Hi guys, Miss Davis here, back for day 34 of the Anne Frank series. So, in the Anne Frank series today, we are going to hear some passages about, for lack of a better term, family stuff. So, Anne's, gonna spend some time with her family and get to know her family a little bit better and see things from maybe their perspective. Yesterday, in those journal entries, she was craving a bit of independence from her family and not really you know, wanting to care much what they thought and had to say in this. So the tide swings back the other way today. And I guess I'm feeling this a little bit under coronavirus quarantine because I've been spending an awful lot of time with my family lately, like a lot more than usual. So that's the general connection today. So I'll jump right in. First journal entry, Sunday morning, the 7th of May, 1944. Dear Kitty, Daddy and I had a long talk yesterday afternoon. I cried terribly and he joined in. Do you know what he said to me, Kitty? I have received many letters in my life, but this is certainly the most unpleasant. You, Anne, who have received such love from your parents, you who have parents who are always ready to help you, who have always defended you, whatever it might be, can you talk of feeling no responsibility toward us? You feel wronged and deserted? No, Anne, it is you who've done us a great injustice. Perhaps you didn't mean it like that, but it is what you wrote. No, Anne, we haven't deserved such a reproach as this. Oh, I have failed miserably. This is certainly the worst thing I have ever done in my life. I was only trying to show off with my crying and my tears, just trying to appear big so that he would respect me. Certainly I have had a lot of unhappiness, but to accuse the good Pym, who has done and still does do everything for me. No, that was too low for words. It's right that for once I've been taken down from my inaccessible pedestal, that my pride has been shaken a bit, for I was becoming much too taken up with myself again. What Miss Anne does is by no means always right. Anyone who can cause such unhappiness to someone else, someone he professes to love, and on purpose too, is low, very low. And the way Daddy has forgiven me makes me feel more than ever ashamed of myself. He is going to throw the letter in the fire and is so sweet to me now, just as if I've done nothing wrong. No, Anne, you still have a tremendous lot to learn. Begin by doing that first, instead of looking down on others and accusing them. I have had a lot of sorrow, but who hasn't at my age? I have played the clown a lot too, but I was hardly conscious of it. I felt lonely, but hardly ever in despair. I ought to be deeply ashamed of myself, and indeed I am. What is done cannot be undone, but one can prevent it happening again. I want to start from the beginning again, and it can be difficult, now that I have Peter. With him to support me, I can and I will. I'm not alone any more. He loves me. I love him. I have my books, my storybook and my diary. I'm not so frightfully ugly, not utterly stupid, have a cheerful temperament, and want to have a good character. Yes, Anne, you have felt deeply that your letter was too hard and that it was untrue. To think that you were even proud of it. I will take Daddy as my example, and I will improve. Yours, Anne. Okay, so I think this is an important journal entry for young people. Okay, because here's the deal. We all make mistakes. We all get a little bit, I think in my family it was called too big for your britches. And we want to be independent and we think we know better and we don't need our parents anymore and I'm fine and you don't tell me what to do. And she does. She admits it. She gets knocked down a peg here because although for her bluster and her talk, she does care what her parents think, especially her dad. And the fact that she's upset her dad and hurt her dad and gotten sort of out of line, I think it is big of her that she can admit that she did wrong and that she was being too selfish and too much in her head and said something. Here's something that I want to kind of reiterate. It is a lesson that I wish sometimes I would have followed myself better when I was younger. But she says basically that what's done cannot be undone. And, you can't take back the words once they're said. You can't take back the the thing you said in anger or frustration, because once it's out, it's out, and whether you write it or whether you say it, one way or the other, what's done is done. And the only thing you can do after that is to make it better for the next day. And so I don't know about you guys, but around here we've been doing a lot of bickering. We're starting to wear on each other's nerves. Oh my goodness. And, so the brothers, they're pretty close in age, and my two sons are fighting with each other as brothers will do. And my older daughter is like, you guys are driving me crazy. So, we just have to be careful and mindful to not say or do anything that's going to hurt the other person unintentionally. Once you've hurt them, you can't take that back. You can only make it better in the backswing, but you can't undo what you did. So it's a good lesson for all of us, no matter what, especially as we are in close quarters with our families and kind of on each other's nerves. All right, next journal entry is Monday, the 8th of May, 1944. Dear Kitty, have I ever really told you anything about our family? I don't think I have, so I will begin now. My father's parents were very rich. His father had worked himself right up, and his mother came from a prominent family, who were also rich. So in his youth, Daddy had a real little rich boy's upbringing. Parties every week, balls, festivities, beautiful girls, dinner, a large home, etc. After Grandpa's death, all the money was lost during the World War and the inflation that followed. Daddy was therefore extremely well brought up, and he laughed very much yesterday when, for the first time in his 55 years, he scraped out the frying pan at table. Mummy's parents were rich, too, and we often listened open-mouthed to stories of engagement parties, of 250 people, private balls, and dinners. One certainly could not call us rich now, but all my hopes are pinned on after the war. I can assure you that I'm not at all keen on a narrow, cramped existence like Mummy and Margot. I adored to go to Paris for a year and London for a year, to learn the languages and study the history of art. Compare that with Margot, who wants to be a midwife in Palestine. I always long to see beautiful dresses and interesting people. I want to see something of the world and do all kinds of exciting things. I have already told you this before, and a little money as well won't do any harm. Meep told us this morning about a party she went to celebrate an engagement. Both the future bride and the bridegroom came from rich families, and everything was grand. Meep made our mouths water, telling us about the food they had. Vegetable soup with minced meatballs in it, cheese, rolls, hors d'oeuvres with eggs and roast beef, fancy cakes, wine and cigarettes, as much as you wanted of everything. Black market. Meep had 10 drinks. Can that be the woman who calls herself a teetotaler? If Meep had all those, I wonder, however, how many her spouse managed to knock back. Naturally, everyone at the party was a bit tipsy. There were 2 policemen from the fighting squad who took photos of the engaged couple. It seems as if we are never far from Meep's thoughts, because she took down the addresses of these men at once, in case anything should happen at some time or another, and good Dutchmen might come in useful. She made our mouths water, we who get nothing but 2 spoonfuls of porridge for our breakfast, and whose tummies were so empty that they were positively rattling. We who got nothing but half-cooked spinach, to preserve the vitamins, and rotten potatoes day after day. We who get nothing but lettuce, cooked or raw, spinach and yet again spinach in our hollow stomachs. Perhaps we may yet grow to be as strong as Popeye, although I don't see much sign of it at present. If Meep had taken us to the party, we shouldn't have left any rolls for the other guests. I can tell you we positively drew the words from Meep's lips. We gathered round her as if we'd never heard about delicious food or smart people in our lives before. And these are the granddaughters of a millionaire. The world is a queer place. Yours, Anne. So this journal entry has me thinking a couple of thoughts. One, how quickly, financial situations can change under, world affecting things. So if both of Anne's parents are from rich families, neither of those fortunes survived World War One. And then World War II comes, and so there's all, and in a way, when I think about it, Anne and her family are still kind of rich, because They have this secret hiding place, and they have friends, and they have people bringing them things, and they had a stockpile of money to start with. A lot of the people who were not well off when the war started, they didn't get this break. They didn't get this opportunity and this chance because they already had nothing. They couldn't have afforded to secret their things away, or, they're in a desperate situation. They're the ones outside in the streets stealing and burgling everyone's houses and, you know, trafficking girls. It's like they're in a desperate situation, which has lots to do with their poverty level when all of the crisis started. So when world events happen, the value of money and the power of money can change rather quickly. We talked yesterday about what happens when the money runs out. So I feel bad for Anne and her family. My heart goes out, and it makes me again think about how lucky I am that I have food in my refrigerator and in my cupboards and to put on my table. I understand and recognize that at this point in the coronavirus pandemic, some people are not so lucky. They are in a much more desperate situation, and so I'm feeling rich, like I am, because I am blessed enough to have the means to feed my family and pay my bills. So there's that. And then I didn't talk about this yesterday, but she did mention it yesterday, and then she brought it up again today. Their food situation is getting quite desperate. She mentioned yesterday boiled lettuce and rotten potatoes for dinner. And she brings up again spinach and, boiled or raw lettuce. I have never in my life heard of cooked lettuce. Uh, Look at me. I mean, I'm not much of a salad eater to start with. I mean, look at that. So it's like, okay, I'm having a hard time putting in perspective nothing to eat but rotten potatoes and boiled lettuce for days and days and days on end. And to hear the stories that Meep has brought from this party of extravagance that she has been to, where there are things like bread, like that's the thing they want to hear about. So how quickly people's situations, financial situations can change, and how much food really matters really strikes me at the end of this journal entry today. I think I have time for one more, do I? Yeah. Tuesday, May 9th, 1944. Dear Kitty, I've finished my story of Ellen the Fairy. I have copied it out on nice notepaper. It certainly looks very attractive, but is really enough for Daddy's birthday? I don't know. Margot and Mummy have both written poems for him. Mr. Crayler came upstairs this afternoon with the news that Mrs. B, who used to act as a demonstrator for the business, wants to eat her box lunch in the office here at 2 o'clock every afternoon. Think of it. No one can come upstairs anymore. The potatoes cannot be delivered. Eli cannot have any lunch. We can't go to the WC. We mustn't move, etc. We thought up the wildest and most varied suggestions to wheedle her away. Van Dan thought that a good laxative and her coffee would be sufficient. No, replied Kufius, I beg of you not. Then we'd never get her off the box. Resounding laughter. Off the box, asked Mrs. Van Dan. What does that mean? An explanation followed. Can I always use it? She then asked stupidly. Imagine it, Ely giggled. If one asked for the box in Binkerkorf's, they wouldn't even understand what you mean. Oh, Kit. In Binkerkorf's, I get a footnote here. Binkerkorf's is a large store in Amsterdam. Oh, Kit, it is such wonderful weather. If only I could go outdoors. Yours, Anne. This short little journal entry brings up quite a few interesting points. They cannot still be free even inside their secret annex. They have to hide away inside their hiding. If there's someone down in the office eating their lunch, they can't make any noise. They can't use the bathroom. They can't be free even inside their place of hiding. So that makes things even more difficult. And again, I'm struck by the fact that they give each other words for presents. I love it. My God, I love it. Somebody write me words and send them to me. My birthday's in August. A poem, a letter. I just think it's beautiful. And again, I know I talked about this many journal entries ago, but your words have power, and if you can give beautiful words away to people for gifts, isn't that great? Like, do that. So that's where I'm going to end my thoughts for the day today. I had a good time, and thanks for spending some time with me today.